The federal government has decided to crack down on roadside zoos that offer guests the chance to play with and feed lion and tiger cubs. This comes at the heels of several complaints on behalf of animal welfare groups. So the United States Department of Agriculture has acquiesced to several animal welfare groups who have put pressure on them with regards to these roadside zoos. So the studies of about 75 different roadside zoos show that cubs, specifically tiger cubs, are taken from their mothers under 4 weeks old, which is a violation of the Animal Welfare Act. And as a matter of fact, the Humane Society has shown some evidence of, or examples of, cubs being kicked and punched so as to deter them from playfully biting, guests that come to the zoos. So I have a big issue with roadside zoos in general. I think that if you're in the middle of Virginia, you shouldn't be like, oh, I need to play with the lion cub. That's what I need to do right now. But I do think that this is at least a step in the right direction to not necessarily take these cubs away from their mothers when they're, straight out of the womb, basically. Yeah. What do you think?
Well, I mean, it's just troubling that this is legal at all, because clearly there have to be violations. Laws clearly have been broken in order for the transfer of these animals into a non-accredited facilities. And when I use the word facility, I'm being highly generous here. We're talking about cages. I mean, to use the word roadside zoo denotes them a gravitas and a structure and a system that they just don't possess. They're just cages where these animals are kept, and at the behest of the customer, so with no mind to the welfare of the animal, which, however you feel about zoos, and I have to say I have a fairly duplicitous relationship with zoos. Same. I don't feel super comfortable with them, but the idea is that at least in a zoo, the animal's welfare is the primary concern, rather than the viewing public being catered to. Whereas in these examples, they're just cages on the side of a road. How they're legal, I just don't understand.
It's crazy. I mean, and that's what's absurd, is that the zoos that allow people to hang out with these big cats are actually covered by the Animal Welfare Act, but they're not actually members of the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, which is the body that makes them not take the animals away from their mothers before a certain amount of time. I feel the same way as you do about zoos. It's weird. I've been to the LA Zoo. I've only been once, and I felt very weird about it, but at the same time, at least the enclosures, they're a little bit closer to life. You also have the reality that even in the wild, people are poaching wild animals all the time, so it really is the better of two evils, I suppose. This kind of thing, I'm not supportive of at all, because just to give you an idea, just one cub that can be used for maybe 30 photo sessions a day, that can be used for 5 of these 30-minute play sessions a day. It's $50 for a photo shoot and $300 for one of these play dates or whatever. And then, over a summer, they can bring in $65,000 for these zoos. So of course, it makes sense for them, but at the same time, this has no regard for what's best for the animals. I'm both fascinated and yet disappointed that so many people feel the need, you can't just look at a beautiful animal. You have to feel like they're your best friend, which I don't support. Why do you have to take a picture next to a chained up monkey just so that you can put it on Facebook?
Right. Right. No, I know, and it's even more strange than that, because to your point, you're driving through a part of rural or a remote part of the United States where these things are not even found there. They're not indigenous. They've clearly been a part and parcel of some illegal or illicit at best trade that's brought them into this situation in the first place. And so why you feel compelled to have a photograph taken with an animal that doesn't even belong in the country where you're having it taken?
Right.
I don't get it, just so you can Instagram it. I don't know.
Exactly. And so Anna Frostic, who's an attorney for the Humane Society, she had this to say about these roadside zoos. She says, this activity is inherently inhumane. It's not possible to convince a mother tiger that you will take her babies for a day and then give them back. That's not how it works. It's thank you. I guess some Americans need to understand that's not how it works. So I have to say I'm happy that the USDA has decided to at least crack down a little bit on this, but I certainly hope we go further to convince people that wild animals do not have to be our best friends.